Trudeau is now officially closed. Liberals had until just minutes ago to submit their nomination package.
Yeah, she did. She did like a on the phone press conference. I think that might have been in Washington, though. I don't know if she's actually. I'll actually take a look at that.
If the party approves them, former central banker Mark Carney, former Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, and former federal government House Leader Karina Gould will be the top contenders. Liberal MPs Chandra Arya and Jaime Batiste and former MPs Frank Baylis and Ruby Dalla have also applied. Gould continued her criticism of the party today with a plan to make the membership matter again. Her campaign said Ottawa does not always know best, and to be competitive right across the country, we need to give voice and power to our regions. Karina Gould joins me now. Ms. Gould, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, David. It's funny to be in studio and you're not there.
I know, we're beaming in differently. Look, I want to start with something you've been saying since you announced you were getting into this race. You've been saying Canadians have lost trust in the Liberal Party. So who in your party broke that trust and how?
Well, I actually think that that was collective on all of us in the sense that Canadians have been telling us for a number of years what the issues are that matter to them, and it took us too long to respond. And I think
yeah,
that
but you're a part of this administration
for
that took too long to respond. This is what I was saying like yesterday is like she's just so like why should people trust you now? Basically you're not even saying like it's like, oh, I've learned. It's like I knew all along it was a bad idea. It's like, well, then now you just make yourself sound dumber. Like you should have just said, oh, well, we learned, or you know, we've grown, or our position's evolving, anything like that. But to go with like this, I had this feeling all along and I just never said anything. I'm like, that sounds worse in my opinion. Good morning, Jose, or good afternoon, Jose, and welcome back, Patty, by the way.
For is leadership that is listening to them, that is focused on the issues that matter to them, like affordability, like housing, like the cost of groceries, and making policy decisions that reflect that. You know, one of the other issues that I think a lot about is something that's, you know, in my community in the GTA, but also right across the country, is crime. Canadians have been saying that, you know, it's unacceptable not to feel safe in your communities. And while we've taken some steps, I think we could have done it sooner. And so for me, really,
you could have done something sooner. You could have spoke out sooner. You could have at least been advocating for change sooner, but you weren't even doing that. You were just carrying out your marching orders.
Race is an opportunity for us as Liberals to demonstrate to Canadians that we hear them and to make the policy changes that they're asking for.
Could it be too little too late for that, though, Ms. Gould? I mean, if you've ignored it for so long and it leads to this erosion in trust to the point of fracture, I mean, do you have time to win it back?
Yeah, it's like this leadership race is just a bunch of people, like they're a bunch of vultures tearing each other apart for control.
As a party.
Absolutely. I think we have an incredible opportunity right now as the Liberal Party of Canada. And we've seen that just over the last 2 weeks.
Like the only one who seems to be like not super worried about the leadership race is Mark Carney. And he's already gearing up to run against Pierre Poilievre. Like, you know what I mean? Like he came up with an ad that I thought was pretty good as well. In terms of like, it's not your typical like, well, not really an ad. It was like a Twitter post, and I'll pull it up. Saul sent it to me. Let me just pull this up here because I thought it was pretty good in terms of like how they're going to go about this. And I think we're kind of seeing the angle they're going to kind of take here in terms of all this. So this is Liberals should hear this. While we're working hard to earn your trust, there's one person especially worried you'll vote for me. And he plays this montage.
Mark Carney, Mark Carney, that Mark Carney. Mark Carney, Mark Carney, Mark Carney. Mark Carney. Mark Carney. This is Mark Carney. Mark Carney. Who? Mark Carney. Mark Carney. Mark Carney. Mark Carney.
So right there, I think this was a good way of angling it, because this is why I think Pierre is worried about him, because he's not grossly incompetent, like as bad as the rest of them. That's what's kind of worrisome about this, right? This reminds me of the Dean scream for some reason. What? What's the Dean scream? Welcome back, Fend the Monster. Anyways, I just wanted to show you guys that because I was like, this is the difference between the conservative rhetoric and the liberal rhetoric, right? Like the liberal rhetoric before, like we watched all those Trudeau ads. They were so bad. And like, this is the first ad that's like It's not even an ad. It's like a Twitter post. It's basically just shit posting, and I think it echoes more with people than everything that Trudeau is doing, right? And I think that's why they're worried about him. That's why they look at Mark Carney like he's an actual threat, unlike the rest of the Liberals who are just a bunch of squabbling children over fighting who gets to drive the vehicle at this point.
With tons of people rejoining the party or signing up for the first time, there's an excitement. There is a new energy. There is an optimism about what we can do for Canadians. So, look, I mean, anything can happen in an election. Canadians tune in.
The Dean Scream, Fend the Monster. You've never heard of it? It's the rally that single-handedly ruined a man's political life. It's something you have to see. Okay.
When elections happen. And so I just think there's an incredible opportunity for us as a party to regain the trust of Canadians and to demonstrate that we understand what they're going through and that we have a plan to address their challenges and their needs right now.
Well, if you're going to lead that fight to regain the trust of Canadians, you first got to win the trust and support of Liberals across the country. And I know endorsements aren't the only thing, but they are a thing that you do measure momentum and chances by. You're behind Chrystia Freeland, you're behind Mark Carney. What does that say about the strength of the Karina Gould campaign right now?
Oh,
well,
I know what you're talking about now.
Is that
I've seen that, Fend the Monster. I've definitely seen that. I guess it's good.
Actually getting support from grassroots members right across this country.
Welcome back, Saul.
Since I decided to do this, which was 2 weeks ago, we have
no worries.
Phone call.
Yeah, just throw your camera on when you're ready.
Stood up an organization from coast to coast. We have had hundreds of people raise their hands to say that they're
in the third coast there.
To volunteer. We've had hundreds of people give small donations, and we've raised almost $100,000.
Okay, my camera's up right now, but I'm going to run to the bathroom quick.
On Saturday. And so there is a tremendous amount of momentum behind my campaign, but it's not coming from necessarily the traditional sources. It's coming from everyday Canadians who, what they're telling me is they're excited, they're optimistic, and they feel hopeful about our future.
I don't feel hopeful about the future.
You talk about you being a generational shift.
Not with you in charge, Karina Gould. If you're a Canadian and you feel more hopeful with Karina Gould at the helm of things, let me know. I'm curious if there is anybody who actually does feel more comfortable, or if she's just talking on her butt here.
For this party, in terms of leadership, you will be the youngest person, certainly from the cabinet, and certainly from let's say at the first tier of candidates here. Is that a lot of people in your party see that as a pitch for not just this election, but the period after this election? Should you not turn it around to the point of winning? I mean, is that really what you're saying to Liberals? You're there for the rebuild, if that's what it takes, and the others may not be?
Well, look, what I'm saying is I'm the candidate for today, for tomorrow, and for years to come. I've been a member of the Liberal Party of Canada since I was 14. I've been there through the highs and the lows, and the thing that motivates me and motivates so many members of our party across the country is the ability to contribute to making a better country, is presenting ideas, debating them, having conversations with Canadians.
It doesn't even seem like Trump's disengaging with WEF based off that press conference, unless I misread the whole situation, but it sounded like I thought it was going to be like an Elon Musk moment, but it really wasn't. Like, yeah, he laid down some tough rules and stuff, but he's not denouncing them in any way. He's not like saying you're a bunch of crooks, we're not working with you. He basically just like had like a polite interview with them. It was weird, but at the same time said what he intends on doing.
Canadians who agree with us and who don't agree with us. And what I can say very clearly is that I'm in it to win it, but I'm also there, no matter what the outcome is, to ensure that we have a strong Liberal Party moving into the future. But David, as I said, I think this is a tremendous opportunity for us as a party to reframe the conversation, to really listen to Canadians and show them that we hear them, we see them, and that we're putting forward policies that are going to make a meaningful difference in their lives.
Well, the listening to Canadians is interesting, Ms. Gould, because Canadians have been saying, whether you agree with this position or not, that they do not like the carbon tax for years. And this week, even Stephen Guilbeault said the battle is lost, it's time to move on. Why did it take a leadership race? Why did it take the resignation of the Prime Minister? Why did it take what amounts to an existential crisis for your party for Liberals to start listening to what Canadians have been telling them for a couple of years on that particular issue?
Well, in fairness, David, I can't talk about what happens in caucus, but I can say that a lot of caucus members have been raising this point for a long time. And we've been hearing from grassroots organizers across the country who are saying that, Canadians care about fighting climate change. They care about our environment. But while this policy might have been the right thing to do when we brought it forward a number of years ago, it's just not working for Canadians today. And I think, one of the really important things to understand is Canadians expect any political party in this country to have a credible climate plan, but they also need to know that it's one that they can afford. So what I've committed to do is one of the first things, if I become Prime Minister, is to freeze the current price on pollution for consumers.
Another liberal freezing or saying it's not the best approach.
Supposed to go up on April 1st because Canadians are saying that that's not something that they can afford right now. But also, in the meantime, while we're working out what something would be to replace it, it's still responsible for 10% of our emissions reduction. And to also give Canadians an opportunity to make the kinds of choices that they want to make. Like, Canadians are already making choices and doing things to reduce their emissions, but I want to make it easier for them to purchase an electric vehicle or a hybrid. And I want to include gas hybrids in that as well, because everything we do collectively to reduce our emissions is a good thing. I want to bring back the home energy retrofit program so that people can reduce their energy usage in their homes and reduce their gas bills and their energy bills. And I want to also make sure that we're making big polluters pay, because we have asked industry to do their part. Some have, but many haven't. And I think that it shouldn't be free to pollute in this country, but we need to do it in a way that's not on the backs of individual Canadians.
But what the plan you've laid out there, at least on the consumer-facing carbon tax side of it, Ms. Gould, sounds like the Liberals running in an election with a consumer carbon tax in place, right? I know you say you'd freeze it, but there's likely going to be an election, depending on the confidence scenario, when the House comes back in March, April, May. You would still have the carbon tax in place. I mean, could you credibly go into an election with the mood of the country and everything you've heard from voters and caucus members with that in place, frozen or not?
Well, I think it's imperative that we do freeze it, and I think we do come up with an alternative. But we need to make sure that we have an alternative in place, because we still need to reduce our emissions, and we need to do it in a way that is responding to what Canadians are telling us. And so this is why that's the commitment that I've made. And I also want to bring forward those programs that are going to help Canadians make the choices that they want to make.
Okay, you also said today that the way the capital gains changes were brought in last year in the budget, an increase in the inclusion rate, which is something now even Chrystia Freeland says she would undo. A lot of Liberal tax policies are suddenly getting strong reconsideration in this race. You said you...
Yeah, David. Yes, David, they are. Because it's almost like none of them even really believed it. They're just all talking out their butts.
Got that wrong as well.
I don't know if it's necessarily about them believing it. They're finally going out and talking to people and trying to find out what they want, and it's not what they've been giving them, right?
Yeah.
Government. What did you get wrong there, and how do you make up for this $20 billion revenue shortfall if it doesn't go ahead?
Yeah, it's a really important question. And look, I'm the daughter of a small business owner, so I know how much work small businesses put into their businesses. That changes everything. And what we need to do is make sure that we are creating an environment for growth and creating an environment where we're going to have more entrepreneurs in this country who can contribute to that growth. So I'll have more to say on this in the coming days, but what I can say is I'm having lots of conversations with entrepreneurs, with the tech sector, to figure out what it is that we do to create that growth environment, and that will ultimately end up increasing government revenues, because we're going to have an even bigger GDP because we're going to have more businesses in this country. So, I'm not sure that we did it in the right way. I also think that it's important to be open and honest and transparent with Canadians ahead of time when you're going to make these kinds of tax changes. And that's not something that we did last spring when we brought these changes forward. So I'm absolutely looking at what to do in order to make this a better policy for businesses in our country and how we can have a growth economy.
So again, though, this is another
you can try that
policy,
new link in there,
Ms. Gould, where the pushback on it was immediate, it was swift, and it was fierce, right? It was loud. It was impossible to miss. So, I mean, your government must have heard it. It sounds like they just weren't listening to it, or at least listening and responding to it in a way that people who didn't like it wanted. Why should people think it's going to be different? If it's mostly the same caucus and a lot of the same cabinet coming back, no matter who among you wins this thing, the only big change is the leadership. I mean, was it all Justin Trudeau? Is that the reason things weren't getting listened to and responded to?
No, I think that
question.
there.
See, that's the thing. People can say he loves to glaze the liberals here, but at least he's asking these questions.
Was, when you're in government for 9 years, sometimes you get more focused on being the government in Ottawa than being the grassroots politician. And one of the things that I've always prided myself on is being the grassroots politician. And I can say with a very clear conscience.
She's really popular in her riding, isn't she?
I don't.
Isn't she really popular in her riding?
Let's find out. I just know. Yeah. I know what grassroots is like. I wear an $2,000 jacket. Like I just can't get past how much that jacket's worth.
I don't think having a Canada Goose jacket is that crazy.
Like,
lots
honestly,
lots of people who can't afford them buy them.
Like two of those is worth a used car. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I know it's shocking to me, but I mean, people do it, right?
Lots of people spend their money on crazy
things.
If you're in like the Vancouver area, a lot of people have them. Yeah, sure, they're going to spend $2,000.
Well, if you're in Ontario, or something that's like somewhere where it's pretty cold all the time, you probably need a really, really good jacket.
What's her riding? I forget her riding. What is it?
Because I know someone who moved down to live in Ontario for a little while, and they were like, they had to buy like all new clothes. They're like, nothing that I have for cold weather worked down there. It was way colder.
Yeah, but Canada Goose is just over the top, dude. You can get a jacket from freaking Costco.
I guess. I mean, she could have got it used for all we know. I was
in minus 50 in a hoodie and a Costco winter jacket, dude. You can do it.
You can do it. Yeah, I'm sure. I probably wouldn't buy a $2,000 jacket, but I'm just saying it's not like it's.
Why is her riding not listed here? She grew up in Burlington, dude.
Burlington.
Doesn't sound very grassroots. Like Burlington, Ontario.
Why? Is that like a really nice place?
In the city. It's not like, I don't know. I feel like grassroots is like countryside. You know, like you can say like Alberta.
No, grassroots just means it's from the bottom up. Like you gathered support from local people and you rose up like out of nowhere. Like Justin Trudeau is not a grassroots politician because he had an in already, right? Somebody like Donald Trump is not a grassroots politician. They already knew a bunch of politicians. They got in because they were already famous, right?
The chat
Somebody like
this. You guys got it. Burlington. Oh, so Burlington is her riding as well? Okay.
Yeah, so she's from the same riding that she's in. That is a grassroots politician, even if she's got rich people
I guess
jackets.
To me, when you see grassroots, I think like
grassroots just means it was
countryside
from the ground.
Grew up on a farm somewhere. I don't know. That's kind of what I think. But like, I don't know. I'm not really grassroots. I don't consider myself grassroots. I guess I don't know. Like
grassroots would be grassroots definition. Because I've heard people use it, but I always understood it to be like a grassroots, like a
Anyways,
base
we're
level.
Definitely splitting hairs over this one, so let's just move forward.
The most basic level of an activity or organization. Not really, though, because you're saying it means that they're from the country. The whole campaign would be conducted at the grassroots. Ordinary people regarded as the main body of an organization.
A lot of conservatives are driving in 100K trucks.
Touch with the grassroots of the party.
What Northwest Coast? A lot of conservatives are driving to the mall in 100K trucks, but a $2,000 coat. Yeah, $2,000 coat's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous to spend that much on any jacket or article of clothing. I think that's ridiculous. That's just a sign of narcissism to me. It's like you bought that for the brand because you're a narcissist. That's how I see it.
Maybe those are really good jackets, aren't they? Like they're made out of actual goose down feathers.
Yeah, but that's why when you need a $2,000 jacket ever. Like I don't know. You're not selling it. I'm not buying it. Like
how much do you think the boots cost when you work in the Arctic and stuff? They're probably like $500 boots.
You're not working in the Arctic. You're working in Ottawa.
No, I agree. I'm just saying it's not like people do pay good money for good stuff. It does happen.
Like
right?
100K on a truck. That's like a truck is like your house, right? I don't think you should hold back. You go to.
I would never spend 100K on a vehicle.
No,
that's
if you're
insane.
making like
unless you're using it for
200 to 300K a year, I'd buy a 100K truck. If I was making that much money,
never. That's
a bigger waste of money. I'd buy that.
A $2,000 jacket
I wouldn't claim to understand what it's like to be a man of the people. You know what I mean? Like that's the problem. They're trying to act like they can relate to us, and then they go and do stuff like buy a $2,000 jacket.
A grassroots movement is one that uses the people in a given district, region, or community as the basis for a political or continent movement. So yeah, it's like basically using the people in her riding to fuel her movement.
Yeah, I just think it's a bit of a red flag.
I understand. I get it.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not good jackets, Czar. I'm saying they're probably great jackets for $1,800 before taxes. They're probably great. Probably amazing.
Hopefully, yeah.
Probably amazing.
It'd be different if she's wearing like Louis Vuitton or like Burberry or something.
How is that different?
I'd say that's way different because it doesn't serve a function. then you are really just paying for the
No, but
brand.
she had that. We actually looked at the one she was wearing. It's like $1,800 because she had like the long one, and it's specific. We found. I'm pretty sure like even the chat agreed with me. It's pretty much the same jacket, and it was like $1,875 before taxes Canadian.
Yeah, and if you look at it, if you like, if Louis Vuitton jacket would be like it'd be like $20,000. You know, like there's a whole other level of luxury clothing.
Maybe I'm too poor and too much of an uncultured swine to understand that anyone's spending over $2,000 on a jacket and to think that's a big red flag. That's like half of the fuel. It's like half of someone's like.
It wouldn't go that far.
That's like more than people's. People have mortgage payments that are less. And
I'm just saying, like, if we see Pierre,
but you know what I mean?
If
like,
Pierre Poilievre pops up in a Canada Goose. If Pierre Poilievre ends up wearing a Canada Goose jacket,
I'll call him a narcissist. I'll call him a narcissist.
Okay. Right.
I will.
All right.
I will. I don't think he will. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think
anyone claims to be a man of the people. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think they're going to.
I never saw those. I didn't even think that Canada Goose or Canada Goose jackets were that much when I first heard. I didn't assume.
Yeah, they sound. I know there's lesser.
I've seen normal people wearing them
for like $300, $400. There's like lesser versions.
Yeah. So maybe that's why
but
I just didn't attribute
she
it
was
to
wearing
being...
specifically. That I found the one that looked closest to it was $1,800. That's my point.
It's a lot to spend on a jacket. You got me there. Like, I'm not trying to deny that. I'm just saying that if it serves a function, I'm a little.
You know what I mean? This is a big crucial detail in these person's characters. It is the way they drink water, the jackets they wear, what shoes are they wearing. You know what? You ever read a Sherlock Holmes book? Really good points in life. How you can determine just by deducing things. Deducing. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna
you can judge a person's entire character by the clothes they're wearing.
You know, I love Sherlock Holmes. I'll try to. I love Sherlock Holmes. Okay,
you can try.
And Benjamin Cumberbatch did a great job. I don't care what anyone says. Anyways,
that I have voiced my opinion on these issues within the context in which I could do that as a cabinet minister. And what I think is really important for Canadians is for them to see that we're listening and we're changing
Good afternoon, Hurricane.
our position on the things that they don't agree with and on the things that they say that are not working for them. And honestly, that's how a democracy works. And I can say, with a clear heart and a clear mind that, we got some things right, but we didn't get everything right. And, we need to be able to have that conversation and listen to Canadians. And, I'm not too proud to do that.
Okay, Karina Gould, I'm out of time. I want to thank you for showing up. We hope you come back, and we hope your competition will follow your example and also appear on the show. This is Liberal leadership contender, Karina Gould. Thank you.
Thanks so much, David.